On this episode of AVWeek, InfoComm 2020 has been canceled, what that means for the industry. Also, AVIXA continues to look at the impact and what happens when you can't get on job sites. And NEC and Sharp create a brand new venture. All that and more. Next on AVWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 450, recorded Friday, March 3rd, 2020. Out like a rocket.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Extron, industry-leading technology backed by world-class support.
And by Christie Digital. And by
Vadio, makers of the new NDI professional broadcast camera, the RoboShot 30E NDI.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host, socially safely distancing myself from my three guests, and producer Mitchell, who is in the background, who has, just for the record, been editing and producing from home for the last 2 or 3 weeks, as at least the state of Illinois practices social distancing and stay in place. So with me to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, we will start with ladies first. Melissa Dillman joins us from Starin Marketing. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Also with us is my buddy Brad Grimes, who is the former editor of Pro AV Magazine from about 9 years ago. He's also done a lot of stuff between now and then, but he's still a diehard Cubs fan. God love you, dude.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for not taking any shots at the Cubs.
There is nothing to shoot at. Nobody's doing anything.
Cubs
my former employer, KMOX here in St. Louis, they did a very nice social thing I'll talk about in a second, as baseball did not start this week. But last but not least, Mr. George Tucker, just north of the good city of New York in the Yonkers. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Good. Glad to be on.
So KMOX, baseball didn't start this week. Lots of people said they did a nice social thing here in St. Louis where it was homebound home opening, right? That was, I think, that was the hashtag, and everybody grilled bratwurst, and some people had Budweiser products because that's St. Louis. At 10 o'clock in the morning, it was kind of a neat thing. So, before we get started, guys, I want to mention something that this is kind of ramped up really quickly the last couple of weeks for us. We're doing 2 virtual business conferences, and I'm calling them business conferences because most of the content is going to help you with your business. There is certainly some technical content and education as well. So the first one happens this Tuesday and Wednesday, the 7th and 8th of April. That is for the residential dealers. We're partnering with CEDIA and a bunch of really great folks, including Z-Wave Alliance and Control4 and Snap AV and Crestron and Surgex and Hunter Douglas is joining us. Jeremy Burkhart from Origin Acoustics is doing a keynote. So you register for that on our website, front page. And then the following week, you will have another one that is for the commercial side of the AV industry. That's happening the 14th and 15th. 2 of the keynotes that we can tell you about right now. One is the CEO of AVIXA. Mr. Dave Labuscas will kick off the event on the 14th, and then right after that, the 15th, will be kicked off by Mr. Randy Klein, CEO of and president of Crestron. So check those out if you've got time. We're calling it LFH, Learn from Home While We Work from Home, and all kind of help each other out. So speaking of Mr. Labuscas, the AVIXA made a rather significant announcement this week. They canceled InfoComm 2020. And, in this era of COVID-19 and coronavirus, this was not a decision that they made lightly. We were blessed, and Mr. Labuscas was very kind enough to give us some time. It will put that link on this episode's page, but he even said he was very candid and very open about how this was not a decision they made lightly. They made it not only in the consideration of the public health officials and the authorities that are bringing up those concerns, but also their members, right? The exhibitors, their board, all these folks kind of played into it, and Dave talks about that in his interview. Melissa, I want to start with you on this. As somebody who has exhibited in the past, Darren has a number of times. Last year, you had service dogs for veterans. You guys did that last
Puppies.
year. Yeah, puppies. Yes, but you guys have done some really interesting things, both from a giving back standpoint, but also your booths tend to be rather interesting and unique. What does this cancellation today, this week, right? So we're roughly 2.5 months out, way before, let's say, NAB, which NAB was about 3 to 4 weeks out. What does this say to us as the industry, but also what does it mean going forward as the bulk of us that do these things and cover these for a living look to, I guess, beyond June, and what do we expect?
So, it's a great question. We're building the playbook day by day right now. We've never been in this environment, in this situation. So I think the decision to obviously cancel the show was a brilliant one, given the Olympics and sort of the state of everything we're in right now. So I think that had to be done. The scramble now will be, what can we do? How do you look in that crystal ball and predict what we can do in the future and try to fill those gaps? I think the need's still there. It's just going to come at a different delivery mechanism or a different way for all of us.
You said the need is still there. What is that need?
That need of the education, of that camaraderie, the socialization of the industry, the announcement of new products, that opportunity at one sweep to be able to gather a lot of knowledge. I think that's desperately needed. We count on it. So if you didn't go to ISE, which was right at the beginning of this virus, right? If you didn't go there, you're looking at over a year and a half before that opportunity in the U.S. is presented again.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Tucker, you have been on various sides of this exhibitor of this show. You worked for a number of years with one of the largest exhibitors. You've also, at your current job, exhibited the last couple of years. You've hung out with me, God love you, for a couple of those years as well as we covered this. What does this mean to the industry, but also to the folks that look forward to June as one of their launching points for products?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because what do we do from this point forward? And a lot of the questions, even in the media about general stuff, has been, where do we go from now? I work now in the live event industries. I have sort of few various iterations in my career done that, but where do we go from now? Do these things come back? And I'm not really sure where we go from there. I mean, I miss it, and I miss that we're not going to have this thing in Vegas, although I don't like Vegas. But have that socially. But that in there is a point of I go because I really want to be with my associates and all those people in this industry, even to a city that I really don't like. And how do we come back from this where we can trust to be together in such large numbers? And when do we allow that to happen? And will we replace it with the virtual stuff? I know many years ago, remember, we used to have the virtual trade shows, the magazines did it. I'm sure Brad remembers, and the CE Pro did something many years ago in the 90s and the early 2000s. But there's still not a replacement for being together and having that sort of camaraderie. And I don't know when we're going to get back to that. And it's a real question because everything's in question. When do we get back to normal? And I don't know the answer to that yet.
No, none of us do. That's the thing. That's the one thing. Is one of the biggest fears I think right now is the fear of the unknown. George right now is technically, I think, furloughed or laid off is the technical term. And legally, and George, you can correct me on this. I'm not sure, depending on the state and stuff like that, there are ramifications on how they say it. But there are a number of folks out there that are in George's shoes, right? That are, they're out of work because there isn't any work, because they can't get into places. And so we're, as a community, as an industry, need to support those folks as well as help them strengthen their skills, strengthen their network, right? This is a good time for that. Mr. Grimes, you did work at one point in your illustrious career. You did work for AVIXA. what does this mean? And again, I want to highlight the fact that you don't work for them anymore. You don't speak for them in any way, shape, or form. We got the official word on Monday from Mr. Labuska, so that is the one we'll take. But you've been in this industry a long time, bud. And what does this say, both about the kind of the exclamation point of the seriousness of this disease and this crisis, but also what does it say to the industry?
Yeah, well, like you said, I've spent many years with those folks. Spent many years with Dave. I listened to your podcast with him, and that was the guy that I knew. I mean, it was heartfelt. I know that they worked really, really hard to make this decision. They looked at it at a million different angles, and really tried to do what was best for everybody. What it means long term, I'm optimistic that that this doesn't mean the end of the InfoComm's. I've been in going to technology shows since I got out of college. InfoComm was always my favorite one. It was different, felt different. The people were different, the solutions were different. It was very collegial. I don't believe that's going to go away. I mean, there will be a time where we'll all get back together again, and we will do it again, and we may do it differently. We may, sessions may be different, but you can't replace, I think, what Melissa was talking about, this in-person education, which I know she's been part of for years, and this just networking and sharing war stories and actually seeing things. Short term, I believe there will be solutions, and we will figure out a way to best learn from each other, the way that so many other industries are trying to learn from each other and stay connected right now, which is virtually. Yeah. So there will be ways of getting it done, but it's not just this industry, but lots of things will change, and it will take a little while to get back to what we might consider normal. But short term, I know that group over there is working around the clock to figure out the best ways of getting the education. I saw the numbers now of, people are breaking the system trying to log in and get free AVIXA courses online. And I know they're working hard to make sure that people can get up to speed on things so that there's really no downtime. I mean, I believe that once this turns a corner, it's going to turn the corner fast. And there will be great demand for what this industry does. In the meantime, let's take care of each other and brush up on what we need to brush up on.
Thanks so much for watching the first segment of AV Week. To see the rest of the episode for free, click on the link below. Go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv.